Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, before we get into any of the news and stuff, why ain't any of you MFers running and actually making me some questions, yo? I mean, why y'all gotta be hating on me? I'm just trying to make a fun little Q&A, and none of you was asking me questions. I mean, I got like 3, but I want more. I always do this with questions, and nobody gives me any. But anyways, now, on to like the actual stuff to actually correlate with news and stuff. The first news story is another controversy surrounding Ilhan Omar. Trump assails Ilhan Omar with video of 9/11 attacks. President Trump on Friday targeted Representative Ilhan Omar for remarks she made during a speech on civil rights and Muslims in America with a graphic video featuring the burning World Trade Center towers and other images from September 11, 2001. He tweeted to millions of his followers. The Twitter post from the president stoked and amplified a controversy that has been the focus of conservative news outlets, which has sought to elevate Miss Omar, a Minnesota Democrat, and one of the first Muslim women to be elected to Congress, as a political target as Mr. Trump's re-election campaign begins to earnest. Again, they're making mountains out of molehills. Like Ilhan Omar, she briefly talked about 9/11, and she explained, this is the actual quote, at least according to this, she stated that Muslims, quote, lived with the discomfort of being a second-class citizen, and frankly, I'm tired of it, and every single Muslim in this country should be tired of it. And then said, because they recognize that some people did something that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties. And now people are like, how dare you call September 11th some people doing something? That's exactly what September 11th was. Some people did something. Every single thing can be summarized with somebody doing something. The Holocaust, some people did something. I would have probably worded it a bit better, but what Ilhan Omar was saying was, just because some Muslims flew planes into the World Trade Center, now all of a sudden you're treating all Muslims like they're evil second-class citizens. And what she said later in that was true. We did curb our civil liberties. We did. That is true. After 9/11, the Patriot Act was signed by Joe Biden, by Hillary Clinton. They were fully on board with it. I mean, they were fully on board with this thing. That's what happened. It's history. That's what history is. That's actually something that happened. And the thing is, one of the biggest people that was trying to make this big thing into a thing was Dan Crenshaw. That guy, he was you know who he is. He's a guy who was elected Congress in a Texas district. He has one eye. And he made a big deal you made fun of my no eyeball. Well, yeah, I'm not going to say that you deserve getting made fun of for your not having an eyeball, but, you're literally jumping on oh, this person's Muslim. And the hilarious part is, he was making all this big deal about it, but then someone called him out and said, when a 9/11 first responder tried to get you to talk to them about their health care or something in that regard, he wouldn't listen. Man, he's a hypocrite. Alright? That's just a big hypocritical thing. Okay, the next story is kind of a brief one. Gabbard will take the stage. Hawaii's U.S. Rep. Tulsi Gabbard is slated to be in the lineup of candidates in the first 2020 Democratic presidential primary debates, which will be staged in late June. I mean, that's good. all that's left is we need to get that one more person up there, Mike Gravel. All we need, like, I got Bernie, I got Yang. Oh wait, we need Williamson and Gravel. And Gravel has stated in an interview with Nico from Mikasa Sukasa. I haven't seen his show that much. I've only seen like bits and pieces of it. But I mean, you might like it if you like this show or any of the other ones. I mean, you'll like it if you like this show or Jimmy Dore or any of the other, progressive news sources. Speaking of Jimmy Dore, this is an announcement that is big, not in the big real political scene, but in like, this is a more of a progressive voice thing, but I felt that it is best to at least talk about it. Jimmy Dore has announced that he is leaving the Young Turks. It seems that they left on somewhat good terms. Like none of them seem to hate each other. It just appears that their disagreements got the better of them. Like Jimmy, he stated multiple times in different interviews that he's always felt like isolated from the Young Turks because like most of the Young Turks people, they were screaming like go vote Hillary Clinton. Like Cenk Uygur, you gotta vote for Hillary Clinton, of course. Anna Kasparian was like, you gotta vote for Hillary Clinton. Sam Cedar. What was the other one? Ben Mankiewicz, John Idarola. Kyle Kalinske was saying, if you live in a swing state, vote for Hillary Clinton, but if you don't live in a swing state, vote for Jill Stein. Whereas Jimmy Dore was saying full on board, I'm never voting for Hillary Clinton. And I'm fully on Jimmy's side. Yeah, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. I would never vote for Hillary Clinton in my life. Literally, in my life. I would never, in my life, vote for Hillary Clinton. She's pretty much the antithesis of me. The only way you can get more antithesis than me would be if she also hated gays. Which she did. She did. Don't get me wrong, she did. But she keeps saying, oh no, I changed my mind. Oh boy, here we go. You changed your mind. You always seem to change your mind whenever things get popular. I don't like that. I don't like when politicians do that. It's if you're gonna fight for the right issues, fight for them consistently. Don't pretend like, oh, I was super against it, or now I'm for it. Or at least be Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, she started super anti-gay, then slowly but gradually, you gotta start slow but gradual. She made a shift from the right to the left, like libertarian right, a little bit of a libertarian moderate, and then libertarian left. She made that shift. It was a gradual shift, yes, but it was a shift. Anyways, next story, coming from the Resistance. Joe Manchin endorses Suzanne Collins for re-election. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin endorsed GOP Senator Suzanne Collins for re-election on Thursday in a rare rebuff of partisan politics, which is increasingly polarized Senate. The moderate West Virginia senator, not moderate, also offered to campaign for the vulnerable Maine incumbent. It's a boon for Collins, whose Democrats likely need to beat if they want to take a Senate majority in 2020. I would go up and campaign for Suzanne Collins if she wanted me to. I would campaign for Suzanne Collins. For America to lose someone like Suzanne Collins would be an absolute shame. I feel that strongly about her, Manchin said on Thursday. He admitted his comments will not please Democrats eager to defeat Collins. Do you think my party will be happy? No, Manchin said in an interview with C-SPAN's Newsmakers program that will air beginning on Friday night. Though it is rare for a member of one political party to endorse another, Manchin and Collins are some of the few remaining moderates left in the Senate. That is completely not true. Not true at all. Nope. She's a moderate. Don't get me wrong. Moderate. Like, she's barely a moderate. Like, she's, like, again, barely a moderate. If she were a true moderate, like, I mean, it's kind of like when you call yourself a moderate in Washington D.C. That's code for I believe in everything a Republican stands for, but I like gays. The gays are cool. That seems to be it. And even with people like Lipinski and Manchin, I don't even think they were for gay marriage for a long time. All I will say about Joe Manchin is this, and I mean, I'm not any new at this. Pretty much everybody who's on the left agrees that Joe Manchin's a dino that's gotta go. Even the ones that are like, vote blue no matter who, they seem to actually be like, yeah, I mean, with this guy, you probably want to make him go away. But I mean, it seems that Manchin will be running for governor of West Virginia, possibly, maybe. He stated that he might, but I don't know. The next story, House votes to reinstate Obama-era net neutrality rules. The House on Wednesday voted to reinstate Obama-era net neutrality rules prohibiting internet service providers from interfering with web traffic. The bill passed 232 to 190, mostly along party lines, with just one Republican representative, Bill Posey, from Florida. Yeah, from Florida. Yes, yeah. It says FLA, so I'm like, so I have like this, like dyslexia or something. House Democrats pushed their measure, dubbed the Save the Internet Act, through the chamber in the face of opposition from conservative groups and Republican lawmakers, but the legislation will likely hit a wall with the GOP-controlled Senate. Earlier this week, the White House also came out in opposition and threat to veto this bill if it makes it to President Trump's desk. You see, this is the thing. It seems that Democrats seem to actually be going along with this one well. I mean, in my personal opinion, it really is this. If it's to quote Mike Gravel, it's literally the same. It's like this. If a bill that is going to be the good for the American people is gonna go through all of the Senate and stuff, if it hits a wall where one chamber of Congress or the president will not allow this bill to get passed into law, let them kill it. That way you can point your fingers and literally say, these are the people that are preventing this bill from becoming a law. Like, for example, Medicare for All. Have Nancy Pelosi and all the House Democrats vote on the bill. That way you can point your fingers and say, these are the guys we need to get rid of if Medicare for All wants to get done. But the thing is, Nancy Pelosi's never going to let them vote for Medicare for All because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want Medicare for All. And PAYGO pretty much prevented Medicare for All from ever becoming a thing. At least for the short term. In the long term, it's probably going to happen. It will more than likely happen if Bernie, goes through with the winning, and then, blah, 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 gets Democrats who actually agree with his policy to become senators. The next story is the biggest, arguably. Julian Assange arrested in London as U.S. unseals hacking conspiracy indictment. The WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested on Thursday in London to face charge in the United States of conspiring to hack into the Pentagon Paper network. Not Pentagon Paper. I was thinking of actual other whistleblowers. Pentagon Computer Network in 2010, bringing an abrupt end to a 7-year saga to which he was holed up in Ecuador's embassy in Britain to avoid capture. The Ecuadorian government suspended the citizenship it had granted to Mr. Assange and evicted him on Thursday, clearing the way for his arrest. His hosts and displayed growing impatience listening to grievances, including recent WikiLeaks releases. They said that interfered with other states' international affairs and personal discourtesies, like the failure of Mr. Assange to clean the bathroom and look after his cat. They literally said, "Oh, you're a bad person, Assange. You didn't clean up after your cat." And the worst part is, like, Trevor Noah, like, made this stupid little, like, tone-deaf, like, sketch about Julian Assange, where he's literally just like, sitting here funny, haha, I'd play a little clip here, but Comedy Central and Viacom, they're notorious for, copyright striking, so I'm not going to play any sound. But pretty much the entire segment is like, oh, Julian Assange, why you look so weird? I'll tell you why he looks weird, Trevor. Because he's been held up in an embassy for years. He's been held in an embassy pretty much like he wanted to go to his home. And you're like, ha 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 ha, it's funny. He looks stupid, ha ha. And it's why Trevor Noah is a terrible host of The Daily Show. I mean, he's literally this, and the only reason that he's even covering politics, like the thing is, he just should be doing like what Craig Kilborn was doing on The Daily Show. Puff pieces of like, ha ha ha, it's funny because celebrity did a funny dance on Twitter. But he's only obligated to do these political stuff, even though he clearly has no idea of any of the implications. He barely actually talks about the actual implications of Assange's arrest. And very few other people are. It's mostly new media people, and the only presidential candidate is actually, I think the only two presidential candidates that have currently stood up for WikiLeaks and Julian Assange are Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Gravel. And again, that's good. Many people are saying, where's Bernie? Why isn't he doing anything? I mean, to be fair, Bernie, he can't step two out of line, or else the Democrats can just say, oh, you can't be the candidate because you're not a real Democrat. It's just how things are. Speaking of Democrats, here's 2020 Watch. Two major announcements. The first one concerns Mike Gravel. Before you say anything, Mike Gravel's still in the race. He's still trying to get into the debates. He's got like 25,000, not 25,000, he's got like 20,000 donors so far. But the announcement with Mike Gravel is, who is he going to endorse? You see, because here's the thing, Mike Gravel, he's always stated, like, he's only going to stay for, like, the first couple of debates, call out, like, Cory Booker, and, call out most of the candidates, and then endorse one of his opponents. Now, the question was, who is Mike Gravel going to endorse? Well, in an interview with Nico House of Mikasa Sukasa, he officially revealed which candidate he is going to endorse.
I support Tulsi Gabbard very strongly, and I'm asking people to vote for her.
So yeah, it's official. Mike Gravel's gonna pull a Jimmy Dore and Nico House and endorse Tulsi instead of Bernie. I get why you'd want to endorse and vote for Tulsi, but, I'd prefer, not doing that and instead doing something else. Maybe endorsing, Bernie Sanders. But anyways, the next thing is someone announced that they're entering the race. Congressman Eric Swalwell announces 2020 run on Colbert. He was on top of Colbert, straddling him. No, I'm just kidding. But he was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and then he was like, I'm running for president. Boo. Eric Swalwell, he replaced Pete Stark, and I like Pete Stark a whole lot better. So, yeah, I'm not going to be... His whole thing is like, I'm running with my single issue being gun control. Yeah, because literally no other Democratic candidate is for gun control. Gee, I wonder why they're having so many candidates announce their entry into the Democratic field. Could it potentially be because they are trying to push the convention to have a second ballot? Where superdelegates actually have the ability to vote? And Rich Georgetta still dropped out. I I wish Ojeda was still in the race, because then I'd have a lot more people I could say, like, yeah, I like these guys. It'd be like Bernie, Tulsi, Gravel, Ojeda, Warren, Yang, Williamson. The most corporate I go is Inslee, because Inslee, because, like, climate change is a big friggin' deal, and, well, if we don't fix climate change now, we all die. So, yeah, I mean, Inslee, he's at least good on climate change. Anyways, and this, I think I went over this before, but I don't remember exactly, and I'm too lazy to look through it, so if I went through it before, I'm sorry. But Bill Bays is not running for the Prohibition Party candidacy anymore. It's instead Connie Gammon, who previously ran as an independent in the Tennessee Senate race in 2002. He's a boy. He's, got the average Prohibition Party platform, pretty much a far-right Republican with the added bonus of being against drinking. Because the last time Prohibition went, it worked so well for us. But anyways, I'm gonna skip over that because I want to talk about this. It's gonna be the thing I am trying to do. It's gonna be a big thing. I am legitimately trying to draft someone to run for Senate. That person in question is Cecil Bothwell. Now, who is Cecil Bothwell, you may ask? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you who is Cecil Bothwell. Cecil Bothwell is an American politician, writer, artist, musician, and builder. Bothwell was elected to Asheville, North Carolina City Council in 2009, re-elected in 2013, but lost in 2017, coming in 7th out of 12 candidates in the primary. In 2011, he ran for House of Representatives in North Carolina's 11th district, and, well, that's his political career. His biggest, well, quote-unquote, accomplishment was the fact that he was inevitably, the biggest thing was that he was an atheist. He was the only atheist elected to a North Carolina office, at least publicly. He was very well known with his atheism. In fact, so much so, people actually tried to force him not to be in, like, they pretty much tried to force him into, like, literally just not being a thing, like, just make him drop out. And he was covered on the national news due to this because, especially considering, and the reason why they wanted him to removed is not only because North Carolina is very religious, but it openly says in the North Carolina Constitution that an atheist cannot hold public office in North Carolina. The law literally says you must be a person who believes that God is the creator. That's the thing. But the thing is, he's, when he first ran for city council, he was a progressive candidate running in support of water conservation, government reform, and ending the death penalty in North Carolina. So he's more than just the atheist running for office. He also ran with public financing of elections and would support the implementation of it as a city council member. Was endorsed by many popular unions in North Carolina. Got the support of, like, oh, no, wait, he didn't get the support. He, the Asheville NAACP president, H.J. Edgerton, tried to force him not to be in office. That's a no-no. That's terrible. It's just, wow. Like, he goes so far as to say that he's post-theist. You know, like when you say you're post-left anarchist, it means that you're so far left that you just super far left. But the thing is, he pretty much kickstarted Asheville's huge... Like, Asheville in North Carolina is well known for being, like, one of the liberal parts of North Carolina. Like, with the liberal parts of North Carolina, you have Raleigh, Asheville, Charlotte, and then, like, the rest of the state is pretty red. It just so happens that those three areas are some of the most populous. Well, I mean, Charlotte and Raleigh, maybe not Asheville as much. Those areas are the more blue areas. They're super blue. So, yeah. They... Like, the thing is... Like, the big thing about Bothwell that shows that he is a truest blue progressive is, first, let me tell you, like, a little bit about his 2011 run for Congress. Now, Bothwell, much like any other progressive in North Carolina, realizes that pretty much every Democrat that's elected here is a new Democrat, you know, like a centrist Democrat, kind of conservative on some regards, like John Edwards, or David Price, or, like, you know, they're kind of more moderate in some regards, and not, like, progressive, even though the Asheville's and the Raleighs and the Charlottes are more likely to be purely progressive, and they don't really want the new Democrat kind of Democrat. So Cecil Bothwell tried to get somebody to run against Hayden Rogers, who was pretty much just like he was pretty much just the stand-in for a representative from like pretty much he was running against, like, he was like the incumbent new Democrat Heath Schuler. He was Hayden Rogers was pretty much his chief of staff. So Cecil Bothwell decided, screw it, I'll run, because nobody else will. Because, I mean, why not? I'll be the best way for progressives to get our voices heard in this election. And his campaign actually got the support of Representative Rahul Grijalva. And, well, I mean, that is a good thing when you're trying to make yourself seem as the big progressive. It's the equivalent of me trying to get the endorsement of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez now. Now, before I tell you how his election did, I think it's best to tell you what his platform was. So first, and this is all coming from Vote Smart, all of his positions, and I'll actually read them all through and through. Do you generally support pro-choice or pro-life legislation? Pro-choice. Abortion should be legal, safe, widely available, and rare. The best way to make it rare is through effective sex education and affordable contraceptive. Afghanistan. Do you support the U.S. combat operations in Afghanistan? No. Do you support a timetable for withdrawal from Afghanistan? Yes. We should exit Afghanistan rapidly, starting yesterday. We ought to have never gone to war in either Afghanistan or Iraq. The appropriate response to 9/11 was a police action like the one eventually took down Osama bin Laden. Budget. Indicate which proposals you support, if any, for balancing the federal budget. Do you support reducing defense spending? Yes. Do you support an income tax increase on any tax bracket? Yes. Do you support reducing Medicaid spending? No. Do you support reducing Medicare spending? No. Is balancing the budget a legislative priority? No. I support efforts to streamline Medicare and Medicaid, such as shift them from payment procedures to payment of outcomes. I support curbing pharmaceutical expenditures via stipulations in the Affordable Care Act and through negotiation with manufacturers, so I support thoughtful cost savings, but not the GOP approach with amounts of slash and burn. Campaign finance. Do you support the regulation of indirect campaign contributions from corporations and unions? Yes. I am the only candidate in either party in my race who has pledged not to accept any corporate or corporate-backed donations, any politician who claims that campaign finance reform is impossible is lying. We can all reform our own campaigns. Do you support capital punishment for certain crimes? No, we are not wise enough to mandate death for any crime. And for the worst of the worst, life without parole is far cheaper. Do you support federal spending as a means of promoting economic growth? Yes. Do you support providing tax incentives to businesses for the purpose of job creations? Yes. Do you support spending on infrastructure projects for the purpose of creating job creation? Yes. Do you support the temporary extension of unemployment benefits? Yes. Do you support the 2010 temporary extension of tax relief? No. I believe the 2010 extension referred to here is the payroll tax reduction. That only serves to weaken Social Security. I would prefer to have implemented an equal reduction in income tax for lower income people. If this is meant to refer to the Bush tax cuts for the rich, they should have expired at the end of 2010. Do you support requiring states to implement education reforms in order to be eligible for competitive federal grants? No. Specific education reforms should not be mandated from the federal level. Principals and teachers come up with many creative ways to forward, so there should be freedom for experiment. Some programs, like Race to the Top, are appropriately administered to reward success with improved performance, but should not impose specific reforms. Energy. Do you support reducing restrictions on offshore energy production? No. Do you believe that human activity is contributing to climate change? Yes. Do you support the federal regulation of greenhouse gas emissions? Yes. Do you support restrictions on the purchase of possession of firearms? Yes. Background checks, waiting periods, limits on the number of guns purchased within certain calendar periods are all completely rational. Do you support repealing the 2010 Affordable Care Act? No. Should individuals be required to purchase health insurance as mandated in the 2010 Affordable Care Act? Yes. The ACA is leading us to the ultimate goal of single payer for all. It was the best deal possible given in the current power of insurance, pharmaceutical, and hospital corporations. Eventually, we will arrive at Medicare for all. Immigration. Do you support requiring illegal immigrants to return to the country of origin before they are eligible for citizenship? No. Do you support allowing illegal immigrants who were brought to the United States as minors to pursue citizenship without returning to their country of origin? Yes. Do you support the enforcement of federal immigration law by state and local police? No. Our current immigration laws have created a black market in the labor. This only benefits employers who are willing to flaunt the law. We need foreign workers. We need to streamline the path of work permits, green cards, and citizenship for those who meet reasonable requirements. Do you support same-sex marriage? Yes. Basically, the government's interest in marriage concerns property. Who owns what? Who owns what? Who gets what? Marriage preserves the right of individuals and protects children. I really don't understand conservative opposition to increasing the number of married persons. National security. Do you support targeting suspected terrorists outside of official theaters of conflict? No. Should the U.S. use military force in order to prevent Iran from possessing a nuclear weapon? No. Do you support allowing individuals to divert a portion of their Social Security taxes into personal retirement accounts? No. Wall Street bankers must not be permitted to pay their gains with Social Security money. It would lead directly back to the impoverishment of most elderly persons that we saw before the beginning of the Social Security system. Now here's a little bit about where his spending goes. Maintain status on agriculture spending, maintain status on art spending, greatly decrease defense spending, greatly increase education spending, slightly increase environmental spending, greatly decrease homeland security spending, maintain status of international aid spending, slightly increase medical research spending, slightly increase scientific research, maintain status on space exploration, maintain status on the UN, maintain status on welfare. Now here's how he would spend this. Here's how taxes would go in his world. Slightly increase capital gains taxes, slightly increase corporate taxes, maintain status on excess taxes of alcohol, cigarettes, and transportation fuel. Slightly increase transportation fuel taxes, slightly decrease income taxes for low-income families, maintain status for income taxes to middle-income families, greatly increase income taxes to high-income families, slightly decrease inheritance taxes, maintain status on payroll taxes, greatly increase other kinds of categories, which he states is financial transactions tax on all sales of stocks, bonds, and futures, etc. Since there is none now, any imposition of such tax would be greatly increased, but I advocate a 1/4 percentage tax. And in 100 words, here's how he would explain his, administration and his priorities. Jobs, infrastructure, nationwide broadband, smart grid, teachers, first responders, new CCC to retrofit public buildings. Pre-K through 4 years of college ought to be affordable if not free. If other nations can do it, the richest in the world can afford it too. Preserve Social Security, Medicare, raise the cap, implement outcome v procedure billing. Sharply reduce U.S. military, close many foreign bases, raise taxes on the rich, impose tariffs on Chinese goods if they continue to suppress the value of the yuan. Now, I know my voice kind of went in and out, but I'll include this in the description alongside a petition and a Facebook page with Cecil Bothwell, because Cecil Bothwell, again, he's really, really good. I love Cecil Bothwell. He's a really good, individual, and while I would like Brad Miller to also run, I would personally prefer if Cecil Bothwell, it's kind of the equivalent of a JFK versus an LBJ. Bothwell is more of an LBJ, like a more progressive, and then Miller's kind of a bit more of a pretty boy, I guess. Now, these guys, Bothwell, he has one more thing that makes him interesting. And I think it could be the reason why he lost his re-election bid in 2017. He endorsed Jill Stein over Hillary Clinton in the general election. He was a burner that went to Jill Stein. I'll let him explain why he did so.
In any event, it seems virtually certain that Hillary Clinton will be elected. And to twist her words just a little, she will therefore prove that any little girl or little boy in America can become part of the oligarchy, as long as they realize that rules are for losers. The good news about the fact that Clinton is almost certain to be elected at this point is the progressives need not fear voting for Jill Stein. We can vote our hearts, vote our consciences, and not worry about the outcome of the election at this point. This is not the year for a protest vote. It is a year to put the Green Party solidly on the electoral map. We can vote our values, not our fears. We can vote looking with hope for the future, not looking back to the past.
You see, this is kind of why I want him in the Senate as opposed to Brad Miller. I like Brad Miller just fine, but Bothwell's a bit more of the, the more interesting progressive, because he was actually willing to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to vote for the oligarchy. I'm voting for Jill Stein. Now, again, this might be falling on deaf ears, because I don't think Bothwell has actually indicated that he's going to run for Senate. I mean, he hasn't, but I will try to get him to run for Senate. And again, I included a petition in the description to, allow you to write your name and see if you want him in Senate. And if you don't want him in the Senate, at least share the petition. I want to at least see him run for Senate. I want to see him run. In essence, before I go, I'm going to end it with the, little thingy I wrote for the petition. North Carolina progressives have had to settle with New Democrats being the only Republican opposition for a long time. In this new era of politics, I feel we need a new progressive voice to replace Tom Tillis and the lead NC into the future. As the 2020 elections are right around the corner, many people have announced or are speculated to run. While the presidential race has many progressives thus far, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and Mike Gravel, the NC Senate race has yet to have a true progressive to enter the race. That is why I have initiated a draft effort to make one run. The one I feel is the best choice for the job is former Asheville City Council member Cecil Bothwell. Bothwell is known for kickstarting Asheville's progressive movement, as well as being one of few atheist politicians to be elected to office. However, the most notable thing he was known for was supporting Jill Stein in the general election after the Sanders campaign was cheated out of the election. He had previously run for NC District 11 in 2012 because nobody else would. It's time to show him that we need him in the Senate. His campaign in said House run had the endorsement of Congressional Progressive Caucus Chairman Rahul Grijalva and had a very progressive platform, most notably supporting a Medicare for All single-payer system before Bernie Sanders made the idea popular. Hopefully Bothwell will heed this call, and we do not have much time to wait. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video when it comes out. And if you're interested in more political content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.